here to help you move forward in League.
Hey, you're listening to the Four Wards podcast, or I guess the Three Wards podcast tonight. Hey, this is Frostbite, and I'm joined by two moderately intelligent gentlemen.
I'm pretty damn smart. Okay. I don't know.
The first one to chime in here was Michael Asterish and Matthews.
Hey, guys.
And, of course, we're also joined by Scott Haberdashing Sesterhen.
Yup.
And Doom is once again exiled.
Yeah.
So, into an indefinite amount of time, he's gone forever. And he may come back in the future. Who knows?
Probably next week.
Yeah, probably. Somewhere around next week.
So we've got a great show for you tonight. This is actually all driven by you. So you may remember, first of all, sorry for the hiatus. We were all celebrating Thanksgiving and doing a whole bunch of crazy things. So we weren't able to put out a show. But now we're back, and we're going to be talking about a lot of the listener questions that you sent in. Some of them were buried in some of your contest submissions. We talked about what did you learn in Season 5. But before we get into that, let's get through some news here, and we actually have a little bit of sad, but also I guess it's a bit of sad news, but we also have something planned for it that hopefully we can get the community involved in, and that's that DeClaude, the lovable and pun master from the Trinity Force podcast, is actually going to be stepping down due to his worsening MS symptoms, multiple sclerosis. He's actually dealt with it for a long time, but I guess his conditions got a little bit worse, and he felt like he could no longer comfortably play the game. And with that in mind, he felt like he couldn't, pass along his advice as well. And so he's still going to be involved in the network, but he's decided to step down from the Trinity Force podcast, which I think is a very, very sad news, as I think all of us here are really great big fans of his.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a really tough decision to make, and he'll still be involved with the community. He's not like going away entirely.
And you can definitely still find him on Twitter. And if you're trying to get a pun fix, you can certainly.
Right, maybe you can start like a daily pun blog or something like that.
I would not be surprised.
I'd love that. Yeah, that'd be good.
So what we are doing with this, though, guys, is they have the King DeClaude t-shirt now up again for sale. So if you didn't grab it the first time around, it is up again on Teespring at teespring.com/KingDC. You can go on there, and all the money raised, all the proceeds, are going to the National MS Society. In honor of DeClaude. So we're trying to really get a lot of power behind this and make a difference.
Yeah, I know a lot of you out there have supported us in the past, and we've done a lot of charitable events, and I think this one in particular is really near and dear to our hearts, given just the situation with DeClaude, and we'd really appreciate anyone who would chip in, and also you get a cool t-shirt out of it. You get to declare who's the king of the Rift.
Yeah.
You wear this t-shirt. So check it out, like Haber said, teespring.com/KingDC. And there's also some news on the LCS rundown front. Why don't you fill us in there, Haber?
Right, so we're trying to inform everyone what's going on in the other podcasts. So in a couple weeks from now, the LCS rundown guys are going to have Jacob Wolf from the Daily Dot on the show. He's the one that covers a lot of the roster swaps, gets a lot of the inside information, all the scoops before the teams really make the announcements. So he's a pretty big name as far as esports journalism goes. And if you've ever been curious about that or want to know more about that, stay tuned. We'll have exact dates once that's nailed down. But, check out the LCS rundown every week, too.
Certainly. Definitely a great place to keep up with the chaos that is the, in-between seasons in the competitive play.
Oh, my goodness.
TSM.
Wait. There was big news about...
Love it.
Oh, I can't remember the team anymore.
Yellowstar?
TSM? Yeah.
I don't think it was TSM.
It
Anyway.
was TSM.
Anyway.
Anyway, that we have another podcast for that. So let's talk about League of Legends, and let's start with our trinket tip for this week. So this is also a new change that's coming in with the preseason, and that is the new bounty system. So in the past, there was definitely a bounty system in place. You may have noticed when people are getting things like, legendary, and then you hear words like shut down. That's actually part of the bounty system. It essentially rewards you for taking down somebody who has a lot of kills. So that it's almost like a counter snowball mechanic, where it kind of rewards you for taking down a high priority target that's really strong and kind of gives you a chance to come back. But they've taken another look at it this preseason, and they've kind of completely revised how that system works. And probably the first thing you'll notice is that you hear a lot of shutdowns a lot more often.
Yo,
than you
I'm
used
in the
to.
podcast, man.
It's like it was so
I said
weird.
that.
Killing spree. I've only had 2 kills. What the shit?
I know, right? It's like I
Okay, go
definitely
through real
noticed
quick,
multiple
hurry.
situations where it's like shut down, shut down, shut down. I was like, I didn't even think people were that scary. Like, it's pretty evenly matched. So the first thing you'll notice also is you might notice that next to your, I guess it's your health bar, there's a new visual banner for people that are racking up kills. And as Haber just noted, bounties start to accrue after 2 kills, as opposed to, I think it was 3 in the past.
Yep.
Some other things and this is all live as of like the first preseason patch. Bounties increase per additional consecutive kills up to 5 kills, which was the same as it was in the past. But bounties are no longer reset on death. So the way it used to work is Haber gets 3 kills, he gets a bounty on his head after he dies, and then the bounty system completely resets itself. That is no longer the way the bounty system works. Does anyone want to explain kind of what they did, or should I just keep going?
I mean,
Just keep going.
it's roughly the same in terms of like actual application. It's just numbers now. So if you had 3 kills now and before, you'll still get reset back down to 0, because instead of going all the way back down to 0, it reduces the bounty tier by 3. So say you're bounty tier 4, you got 4 kills, you die, you're reset to bounty tier 1. That's all it is.
But now I think if you get up to like bounty tier 5, right? Then
You're reset down to 2.
okay.
Yeah, correct.
So additionally, regarding bounties, bounties no longer add to kill gold like they did in the past. It's actually more of a means to get global gold for your team. Kind of viewing it almost like a team objective. Like if Asterishan is just lasering people on Lux, and then he's just
Raid
racking
boss
up
status.
kills, you kind of get like, sort of like a raid boss status. The whole team gets rewarded for taking him down.
You do get bonus gold, that is to be noted, but it's also spread across the team. So rather than you getting a bonus gold for the bounty, it's distributed amongst your team to make it a little more better for your
like
team.
A numbers perspective. If someone had 5 kills, someone was that's legendary. No, that's not even godlike. That's
5?
No, that's legendary. It's legendary,
that's
godlike,
legendary.
and then okay. So at that point, if you killed that person, you would get 500 gold, the 300 and then plus the 200 for bounty. And now you'll get that 300 gold, and then everyone on your team gets 90 gold.
Times
So
5.
everyone on your team gets 90 gold. So
pretty
overall, it's 300 plus the sorry, I can't math right now.
360.
360.
Well,
No,
not
you
including
get that gold
yourself.
too.
Not including
You get that
yourself.
gold
450.
too.
Yeah, but everybody, the rest of it's 360.
So it's 300 plus 450. It's overall.
In other
more
words,
gold.
Riot's just kind of rewarding the whole team when somebody on the enemy team gets taken down who's like a high priority or a big threat. And also, because they made this change, they sort of tweaked the way assists work a little bit. There used to be this thing called an assist streak. It wouldn't really the announcer wouldn't be like assist streak or anything, but consecutive assists used to grant some bonus gold. It doesn't do that anymore.
That's so, which I think is I guess, I mean, it's a little more fair
Well,
because
yeah,
it
it's-
tossed in the bounty system, but still.
Well, I think it's a good change for clarity's sake, because that was never announced. You never really had a good way to track it unless you were going, oh, I have 3 assists now, so I'll get X much gold. I mean, it wraps it all into one, where the total gold that you're getting for kills and assists is roughly the same,
Yeah.
because you're getting more gold for kills, but less for assists in general. As a person, but as a team, the gold stays roughly the same between kills and assists.
Yeah. But I mean, that was my whole point, was supports are just going to get less gold now in general. Because if kills aren't happening on other parts of the map and you're not getting bounties, well then, and you're the only people doing work down in the bot lane.
Yeah, but I mean, like, now you can get 90 gold for doing absolutely nothing, and someone just died on the other side of the
Well,
map.
you can, but that's if someone dies on the other side of the map that's on that kind of bounty streak, which, let's be honest, isn't that popular. So
It's
the
not
assist
exactly
streak,
good either.
the assist streak is,
Yeah,
and
we
it's
got
not good
one kill
news
for
either.
them getting 5.
Exactly. So I mean,
Shit.
that's the whole point. Is like now it just kind of makes supports just get less gold. Like that's just, and I mean junglers too. If you took up a more support,
I mean,
jungle
the
role.
way
I mean,
that there's a
other
lot of
stuff, too.
changes that happened in the preseason,
Mhm.
so I don't think it's as simple as just saying like
True.
supports get
True.
less gold.
True.
Yeah.
Like, isn't there just more gold in general?
There's more
gets-
ambient gold, and after
Yes.
is it
Yeah.
15 or 10 minutes, the lowest 2 get an additional 2 gold per 10. It's 10 or 15.
I didn't know that.
I don't have all
Yep.
the math.
I didn't know the
right
less
with
the
me.
people. Huh.
Yeah, the 2 lowest earning people on the team on both teams now get an additional 2 gold per 10. Starting at I can't remember if it's 10 or 15.
Interesting.
Maybe
yeah.
20.
I think we're getting a little derailed here, so I'll reel it back. The bounty system, that's a lot of changes there, but what I've noticed in my games is you hear shut down a lot more often, and then they made some of the tweaks that we just talked about.
It looks really nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's nice having that little
Yeah.
thing next to the health bar.
Mhm.
So Haber, tell me about Cole.
Yeah, so this I feel like we've talked about it a little before, and I voiced my discontent for this item. It is a new item that is meant to sort of be a not a replacement, but another option for Doran's Blade or a longsword. So what Cull is, it gives you 7 AD, and that's it as far as stats go. It costs 450 gold, but every minion that you kill, you get an additional 1 gold, and after killing 100 minions, that Cull item gives you 300 gold. So, yeah, overall, the item will give you 400 gold by the time that you've killed the 100 minions.
So I guess the thought process behind this is that Cull, Cull, instead of taking an aggressive start, where you plan on doing trading and whatnot, if you just plan on like safe farming, it was supposed to be an item that rewards that sort of playstyle, I suppose.
Yeah.
But there are some I think the 3 of us have some reservations about it, or at least I know I do, and I think
Oh,
Haber does
totally.
as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
We all do.
Oh, sorry,
we all do.
I screwed up the it's 5 attack damage and 3 on hit.
Mm-hmm.
3 health on hit.
I would
Yeah.
say it's not as bad as like a noob trap item as some other items that have been in the past, but I think to some extent it is, because combat stats are really important, especially early in the game when, like, you know, it could swing the way a lane goes and then the lane could start to snowball. And when you throw away the combat stats you would get with like a Doran's item, to get this item, like, I don't know if it's really worth that sacrifice.
Well, I see this as more of a noob trap item in a different sense. I mean, this item is, I think it's okay so long as you're actually utilizing that passive and getting rid of that item as quickly as you can. And that doesn't happen with newer players. Like, they aren't that good at farming. And 350 gold 20 minutes in rather than 350 gold, say 8 minutes in, is a very huge difference. You know, like,
Yeah.
if you're finishing that item 15 minutes, 17 minutes into the game, that is completely wasted. Like at that point, the stats are negligible and you're not really getting any health on hit because it's so little. Like, that's where I see it as more of a noob trap. Not so much that the stats aren't that great, because let's be honest, they're okay. It's just
Well, I
you
mean-
can't buy pots, and that's the biggest issue. Is like if you have
Right.
to trade, you're super screwed because there's no way to sustain. Like 2 on hit health, that's not enough for sustain. It just isn't. So I mean, on tanky people, this could be great. If you know you're just gonna like Nasus, holy shit, this would be awesome. You're just gonna
It's
sit
fair
there
to
and
say
farm whatever.
Early on, the lifesteal versus Cull, you are getting a little bit more. Well, actually,
Yeah.
no, you're not, because
No, you're not.
Assuming you take Vampire as never mind, because you get that anyways. Cull will give more health early levels than Doran's Blade.
Well,
Until
not,
you get
but
over
that's but you don't
180.
get health. Like that's the other thing is you don't get that health.
That's the thing.
as
You
well.
don't get the 80 health.
Yeah,
So
that's what
you
Doran
are
really got
still
buffed.
kind of at a deficit when you're choosing this side. And I mean that's the point though, is you're taking it so that you're gaining something in 6 minutes. But if you can't
Right.
get that in 6 minutes, then that's why it's wasted. I don't necessarily totally agree that the stats aren't necessary. Like the stats, I mean that's the cost. You have to have that cost.
I just really think that stats early game are super important, and we had that
true.
discussion a while ago where we talked about all the reasons why Doran's items are really strong, and I still think a lot of the Doran's items are strong, and it's like, I mean, if you're playing, I saw this the other day, and it really baffled me. I saw Renekton in top lane start Cole, and I was just like, you want to be like take advantage of his early game and be
Yeah, and
aggressive and
You're
trade
giving up
and
lane pressure now.
yeah, now you're like giving up health and you're giving up lane pressures to buy this Cole item, and I don't think it's a good idea.
See, I think this would be great on, like I said, champion like Nasus or like ranged squishies up in the top lane, like Quinn or something like that. Like those are the champions that I could see this item on. People that
You're
you're
just kinda
not
farming for a long
looking,
time.
yeah, that you're not looking to trade because you don't want those combat stats if you're not trading, right? That's the whole point. But if you are going to get traded on, then I mean, this is when that item is a trap and not so great. I think that if they reduce the overall cost, maybe cut back on the AD a little bit, or I don't know, maybe just reduce the cost and allowed you buy pots. That would mitigate some of that, but as of right now, I think it's just too expensive, and you lose one early game trade, you're screwed.
So that's Cole. Let's get into listener questions.
Yeah.
You sound a little less constipated saying that.
Oh man, I have a story for you guys after this.
Okay.
Fuck
Thank you
that.
for afterward.
So first, we have Stumpy Fjord who wrote in with actually a number of questions. But let's start first with this fun one here, which is how did you guys find the champ that you love?
It makes
He
me
mentions
warm.
Lux or Twisted Fate or Ezreal, which is the three of us on the show.
Yeah.
Did you start with a role and then narrow it down and just kind of fell into it? And was it love at your first play?
I like these questions. These are good.
I just thought Ezreal was hot.
Nice.
The sex appeal got you?
Yeah.
The just sheer raw animal magnetism was just too compelling.
No, like when I first played Ezreal was way back, and like at that time I wasn't like, oh my god, this champion, I want to play him all the goddamn time. No, like I thought he was really fun, but I wasn't like, you know what, I'm just gonna play this from now on. I still had plenty of other champions that I like to play. It wasn't until I got into AD a lot more, and I really liked the feel of him versus a lot of other AD carries, and I mean that reflected in my win rate on him, so I started playing him more, and it was kind of playing him more along with that I just liked him in general really got me liking Ezreal even more.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I
So-
know for me, I think we'll save the Lux one for
Oh,
last.
I had a question for Haber. Did you? So it was when you started playing him as AD that you began to like him more as a champion. And does it have anything to do with him as like his like lore or character, or do you just like his abilities? It's like, is there? I mean, I'm curious. Like,
That is a good point.
No, his lore isn't very good.
okay.
But is
Prodigal Explorer.
yeah, he's Indiana Jones. It's
You
fucking
belong in a
it.
museum. You
He's
belong in
a
a
young
museum.
blonde
You belong in a
Indiana
museum.
Jones.
You belong in a museum.
Yeah, just
You just started playing AD and you were like, well, this is kind of fun.
well, like at that time he was a big staple in the bottom lane. Him, Graves, Corki were the big three.
Oh, the season 2?
Season 2.
Yeah.
So those were the big three that people played. And out of those, like I like Graves, but I liked Ezreal even more. And it's just as I started playing him more, I really grew to like his kit.
Mm-hmm.
And
He does a
it's just like you get used to something, and then it's hard to go back to something different.
Yeah. I know for me, when I first got into League of Legends, I guess technically when I first started playing, like I was one of those people that played Ashe in the tutorials. Like I'll only play Ashe, and then I just insta-locked Ashe for like the first 10 games, and then I never like played her again after that when I moved on. But I find a lot of players do that. Like they play the tutorial champ, they're like, I'll just stick with this. But what I did know I liked, and the reason why I kind of stuck with Ashe is I like kiting. I really, really like kiting. And that was like, oh, I like being a glass cannon. I'll do damage, and I'll just avoid taking damage in return by kiting. So I played a lot of 80 carry at first. My first main was Ezreal as well for that reason. And then I moved around, and I learned other lanes. I gravitated towards mid, and then, last season, or no, I guess it's the season before that at this point. Season 4, I played like Ziggs, and I liked mages and poking people, but I kind of didn't like just being the wave clear champion that like sits back. I wanted to be like more of a playmaker and like apply more map pressure. And then I was like, oh, fucking Twisted Fate's all about that. And I thought he was cool. I'm not super into the lore, but I thought he had like a cool, like badass, like personality, like the cocky sort of, I've always got a trick under my sleeve sort of mentality. And he just shows up and turns the tide of a fight. And I just thought he was really awesome. And as far as love at first play, hell no.
You had to grow into it.
I fed so much on TF, it's like not even funny. Like I was like, oh, I'm playing Ziggs. I'm like a mile away. Anyone tries to get on top of me, I'll just satchel. Like, oh, I play like Lux. Somebody gets on me, I'll just binding them or something. Like I felt so safe with a lot of long range mages, and then like TF, like I blue carded a minion and got 100-0 by an assassin. I was like, fuck this shit.
But need to get good.
Eventually I love it.
Oh man.
So what about you, Mike?
Oh jeez. Okay, so I've been playing this game for a real long time. Everybody knows that. And I went through a lot of champions. The first champion I think I really committed to was Twitch. And that was back when you could go from bot lane to top lane in one ambush. Like it was fucking awesome. You could back invisible and get halfway back to lane after you bot and healed up and still be invisible. So those are different times. But as my development with the game grew and my love for the game grew, and as I got more in tune with the lore and stuff like that, because at first I didn't really care about the lore, I was just playing it for the game. I started to appreciate more of each character's like different personalities and stuff like that. That's when I started to like Ezreal a lot too, as I was like, oh man, this guy's similar to me, cocky shit, super good. Totally, like Ezreal was one of my favorites for a while as well. And so one day I was playing Orianna with my Fives team, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, I really do like Orianna, but she's only really that great if I have a ball delivery system, because her E, you can just throw it so much further, and you can have it out so much farther, and you just, like in 5 situation, I can't utilize that as effective if I don't have a good, ball delivery system. In solo queue, it doesn't really matter, but that's beside the point. I thought to myself, I was like, I need somebody that has decent CC, good burst, and I would love it if they had a shield. And I was like, holy fuck, why haven't I played Lux? And like, I had played Lux before. I had played Lux before, like many times, and like I knew her, I knew what she did. I was pretty decent at her, but it never really clicked immediately until I was like really looking for someone that satisfied a specific like definition
of what I wanted. It was right around the time we started this podcast.
It was,
right?
yeah. It was about that time, and so I played her, and I was like, God damn, I don't know what I've been doing with my League career. Like, what the fuck? And it just blew my mind. Like, there's so many great things about Lux. And I could go on and on about her. Like, aside from just her normal kit, her passive is great. Her level 2 is fucking disgusting. Is like as far as mages go, the most burst out of any mage, just because of her passive. Like, she can do an astronomical fuck ton of damage, and she has great utility with a pretty kick-ass shield, if I may say so myself. And I mean, as a mage, I also really enjoyed the idea of helping with objectives too. And Lux is really good at that because of her passive, and she has the potential to steal with her ult, which I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And in ranked 5s, that's like, I mean, you can't
like
get
on Ezreal,
much
just calling
better
that shit before I
than that.
let it go. You're doing dragon. Don't worry, I got it.
Yeah,
I think the
I do
three
that
of us
too.
like global ultimates.
I do that
I
too.
love Ezreal's ult so much.
It's so, I mean, it's so great because you can just, it adds so much more potential to a character. Like, if they're already good and you just have that extra bit of range, it's even better. And I also really like her personality. Like, everybody knows I can get angry in the situation, and she's really good at just keeping me back. Like, I play Lux.
Rainbow.
I play Lux if I'm like, I really want to win and I need to not get angry. But I mean,
she's
fun.
I gotta say with Lux, like, because she's one of my favorites. It's just overshadowed by how much you like her.
She's
There's
so
like
good.
something so fundamentally satisfying about her combo that, like, the
It's-
second you do it right for the first time, you're just like, that was so awesome.
Like
They're just
you have to
sitting there like,
you have to take a
shit.
step back and be like, oh my god, I just destroyed them. And you know what's best is, like, you get to a point in the game hitting around that 11-minute mark with 3 or 4 kills and no deaths, and you're like, you catch the Ari and you don't even need to use the E at that point because your ult will just kill them. Like, it's
I love it.
disgusting.
Because it's not like Rengar or Talon or people like that where it's like you die and you don't even have time to process it.
No, you're watching
Lux,
it
like
happen.
you get hit with a binding. You're just
Oh
sitting like,
fuck! No! No! Please miss! Please miss! No! God damn it!
the binding is the moment where you know
literally-
you fucked
yeah,
up.
You have
Yeah.
time to know
Digest.
first that you fucked up and then accept your fate.
Yeah.
And then you die.
It's pretty terrible. And then the laugh
Yeah.
spam. God damn the laugh spam. I think that's what really sold it for me. Was like, at the end of the day, I know that I can just like pick someone apart with that shit. Just absolutely get underneath them, and it's just, for me, it's beautiful because I think it's just music. Like, I listen to it and I'm like, that's adorable. She's adorable. But to every single person in the world, it's like jalapeno sunflower seeds. Nobody likes them. I fucking love them. It's just hilarious.
Okay.
All right,
That came out a little bit out of left field,
Yeah.
but
I think let's move on real quick to Stump's other question, which is, I guess, a bit more of a statistical question. He says, I'm similar to a scientist and like to have data. I keep a spreadsheet of my record with various champs and roles, but was wondering how many games I should have under my belt before that data even means anything. Discount the first 10 games. What is a good record I should expect? Is 55% good? Is 75% good? I have no idea what win rate with someone is when someone is good. Essentially, he's wondering, what's considered a good win rate, and like, after how many games does that win rate actually mean something?
there's like it. You could sum this up in a few words. And like I want to say, like, the more you play, the better you are. That will improve, even after like 100 games. But like, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, like, the biggest thing you're addressing is like, you need to have a good sample size, and it's hard to determine that, like, when every game is different, and every game you should be trying to improve.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different factors in all these things that make it hard to determine what exactly is the amount of games that you need.
I think it's
the biggest problem is really the sample size thing is the biggest problem I see with people when they mention win rates, because I see so many people
I have
like
75% win rate. I won 3 out of 4 games.
Yeah,
Okay,
I have
keep
like
playing.
an 80% win rate in 10 games. Like, okay, that's good, but it's 10 games. Like, I've had games where I've gone on a tear and won a bunch in a row, and games where, like, I'm still like, it's really hard to tell. And I actually reached out to Horse Doctor about this because I wasn't sure what was reasonable, and I know he doesn't do as much stuff with our network now, but he used to do a lot of content where he would analyze a lot of data. So I wanted to ask him, and he said from a statistical standpoint, he says that 50 games is somewhat reasonable, and 150 is where you reach around 99%. And then even then he went on to qualify some of the things that Haber said, where he doesn't really like doing this much analysis with League, and you should ideally be improving over that time. So it's kind of hard to really dig too much into the win rate.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up as well. Is like you can look at how many games you played, and while I think that is incredibly important, if you have a direct objective when you're playing these games, then you're gonna see quicker growth, and those games are gonna matter less because you're finding the opportunities to improve yourself and your gameplay immediately rather than learning those learning through consequences. You see what I'm saying? So what could potentially be like, yeah, 50 is a good marker. You can narrow that down to 30 if you're really trying to develop your play. But again, it's all based on how quickly you're learning the champion, picking it up, how many games you have played, because yes, that matters. You can't always count all the factors. Like we said this a bajillion times. There's so many champions in the games that no matter what, every single game you play is gonna be different. I guarantee it. So with that as like a strict ground level, you know that more games you play, the better developed you'll get. So
Yeah,
that's
such a good point too. Like, I think a lot of times people try and reduce things really small, and then so that way they can look at a number to make a decision. Like, even in something as saying, okay, what's my statistics for this champion versus this champion? Well, that doesn't factor. Okay, what's your team composition? What's the enemy team composition? What level?
What role are you in? Hell, like if you're playing jungle aside from top, those are two completely different things. Like I've been playing a lot of Echo, mid, top, and jungle. Like I can't look at just my Echo play. I have to look at my Echo in the jungle. I have to look at my Echo in the mid. I have to look specifically at what I'm doing and the goals I'm trying to accomplish in each game. That will help me develop overall gameplay, but in each moment, like you're taking in the factors that are available specifically in that moment, and it's difficult for you to compound everything together. You need to separate them. You have to. That's the best way to judge how well you're playing as a player.
But I mean, I think we can agree there's a certain point where you have enough objective data that you can say, okay, I am doing relatively well on this champion, therefore I should play more of them if I want to climb the ladder, sort of deal.
Yeah, sure.
I do agree. Like 50 games is.
If you're playing like 50 to 100 games and you still have like a 55% win rate, like you're doing something right. Like,
that's the other thing I was going to say. Like you need to take into account win rate. Like I would think that yes, games played is very important, but right underneath it, I guarantee, like literally right underneath it should be win rate. If your win rate is steady with how many games that you are playing, that shows consistent development with your growth, and that also shows that you have a good understanding of the character initially. If your win rate skyrockets over a course of time, that means that you're developing it really, really well, and you're about to probably plateau. Which once you notice that you're doing that, that's when you really need to commit about the finite mechanics. So I mean, taking into account both of these things at the same time will help you better understand your character, because once again, like I said, 50 games, that's a good marker, but you can drop that down if your win rate with that champion is 80%. Over 30 games, I would be terrified of playing you. Honestly, I would, if your win rate's that good. So you do need to take both into account.
Yeah, I mean, like the number of games is going to change also dependent on the champion that you're trying to learn. There are just some champions that are harder and take more time to get to that point where you're winning at a positive ratio. Lee Sin, Azir comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, I know my TF win rate was also crap when I was learning him, and it eventually got up. Like I had to pull myself out of a hole because I was so bad of it at the start. But now he's one of my most comfortable champions. But I would say that one of the big things is that if you have a large number of games, you don't need to have an outstanding win rate, like 50 to 55%. Like you're climbing and you're doing something right. But I think let's move on to our next question here. This is from another listener. This is from CCC7676, who writes, with games going so fast and then being decided by the 10-minute mark, ... will Riot let people forfeit at the 15-minute mark instead of 20 minutes?
I think they should.
as there's no longer a late game.
I
feel
think they
bad-
should.
I think you haven't played LOL for a while.
Well,
Let me finish the email. real
go
quick.
ahead.
I feel bad for anyone that has just started League. If I had to learn a meta that taught me if I died 2 times in lane, the game was over.
Exactly.
Well, I want to know what meta he's talking about.
Are you kidding me? 50-second death timers at 25 minutes? How is that fun? I don't understand why anyone would want to play past that. I don't blame people for
Right,
wanting to
but that
forfeit at
was-
15 minutes. If
You
you're
could
like
say that
11-1 against a team with like Rengar and Xin and something like that, fuck no. I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. Like, especially not in this meta. Like, I don't blame people for wanting to get out of it. And 15 minutes really isn't that bad. Not with how short these games are.
I will say
No.
this. I think that the snowball meta that people are talking about
It's
is
heavy.
somewhat
It's way
grossly
overblown.
exaggerated.
Yeah.
Like, especially what
disagree.
you're saying here, like dying twice in lane and the game's over. Like, I've had a ton of late game comebacks, even in the last like few weeks. I've been playing quite a
Right.
bit of League, but it's really not that bad. I think it was even worse in patch 5.22 when the towers were going so quickly. But they kind of they fixed that since then. But I would say I think this is a lot of people getting swirled up in the hype of the preseason changes, and we said this at the start of our preseason episode. Like, don't get too overwhelmed by things changing. Like, things are happening, people are adapting, and I don't. But with that in mind, I'm not necessarily opposed to a slightly earlier surrender, but I don't think that's because the meta is gone off
It's
the
death
wall.
timers.
but,
I mean, I'm
you
only
know.
talking really specifically about death timers. Like, while I agree that we do need some time to get more comfortable with the way that the masteries are set up now and the differences between champions and new items and stuff like that. Yes, I agree. That does not change the fact that you're still sitting around for almost a minute at 30 minutes in the game.
No, you're not.
It's almost a minute. It's like 50 seconds at 30 minutes. It's pretty freaking long. Death timers have gotten super long. Really
No.
long.
Check
it.
I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up there as far as
I definitely
as far
haven't
as
noticed
length.
it that much.
Yeah, no, it's I know they changed it. It's not
We
like
spend
that.
so much time
No.
sitting around. It's ridiculous. Like, I was just I almost had a full on conversation with somebody at like 35 minutes into the game just by typing, just because I was already done buying and there's nothing else to do.
I just feel like a part of this might have been blown out of proportion with 5.22 because I think 5.22 was a bit much. Like, there was that problem where
Again,
people were getting kills and like they were leveling up like way too many levels, and I think that was sort of getting out of hand. But I think right now, I don't think it's really that crazy or that different from what it was in the past.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can feel it. I can very much feel it. Death timers, you start to really feel them a lot quicker.
But I guess jumping to his question here, what do we think about death timer? Should it remain 20 minutes? Should it be earlier? Should it be later? What
You mean
are our
forfeit?
stance on surrender?
I mean, personally, if they keep the death timers as long as they are, I
well-
think that they should
Well, his question was
lower it.
about surrendering.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that they should lower the surrender rate to 15.
No, 15 minutes is not long enough to play in a game to decide how.
Are you
which
kidding
way
me?
It's going
When
to swing.
games are being decided by the 25-minute mark rather than the 45-minute mark, taking off 5 extra minutes really isn't that big of a deal, especially when you see how quickly people are growing in this game. Like,
But that's right in the transition between early and mid game.
because we're
That's
used
way-
to a different meta. We are not used to this yet. Like, we're not comfortable to decide how quickly
we've
these
seen-
games are going to be or how long they're going to be.
This is not as extreme as it was in season 3. It was season 3 or 4, back when games were
well,
even
because
quicker.
the death timers weren't as long, and you had ways of like delaying the game. But now it's like, oh my god, is somebody going to be up? Like, are they going to take our inhibitor at like 20 minutes? Is that going to actually freaking happen?
I really feel like it's not that different than it was in the past, honestly. I feel like 15, I'm fine with them switching it to 15 or keeping it at 20. Just maybe it's because I came from other games where you could, like the StarCraft, if you felt like you got your base overwhelmed at like by a Zerg rush, you could just surrender right away. So if you get enough people on your team to vote to say,
Well,
let's
exactly.
get out of here, I'm fine with that. but I don't think it's necessarily because the game has changed so much. I think it's just because I don't even know if the 20-minute surrender is really needed.
Oh man, I again completely disagree. I mean, I'm not somebody that usually surrenders like that, but I know people that are just like, they don't find it fun to sit around for that long. They don't see ways out of a situation like that. And then especially in like non-ranked games where you're just like sitting idly by and you're just getting completely demolished and you have to wait until 20 minutes to surrender. Like, I had 2 of those games yesterday.
I will say though, he says in his email, died 2 times in lane and then the game was over.
See, that's
I mean,
that's a
I've
little bit of
turned
a
around
point.
in games where it's been worse than that.
That's
a
not this
point.
meta. That can happen any time, and it's not over. Besides that point, it's not over.
You always have to pay attention to win conditions, and we talked a lot
Which is
about
why
that
I don't think you need to decrease the
But
time for surrender.
again, there's so many reasons. There's like, you're saying it because we're just not comfortable and we haven't gotten used to all this. But again, I'm saying there's a lot of factors that lead to us seeing that this is a good choice. Like extended, death timers, coming sooner, with how long the games are actually lasting rather than what they used to be before. Again, we haven't gotten comfortable, but that's not the point. The point is we're looking at factors that are currently being, exploited to us, and we can see that people are getting frustrated at sitting around for, less than 20 minutes. This is not a thing that people used to do. Why is this now being a thing?
I think some people were always frustrated with having to wait to 20 minutes, and I think other people are kind of really even annoyed that how many people were surrendering. But I think we got to move on here. We got more questions to get through. Gene Tonic Joe, he writes in and he says, my question for you is, I jungle with Nunu, Yorick, and Cho'Gath. My biggest problem is ganking. Is using exhaust better to engage... is using exhaust to engage better than flash, or should I use chilling smite? All right, I think there's quite a bit to digest here, and I think we can approach this question in a little bit of a different angle. Does anyone want to jump on this?
Well, I mean, I guess we all kind of concluded that we think initially your first analysis of this was inaccurate. It's not a matter of needing exhausted gank. It's probably because you're either, not opening with Snowball or coming at a bad angle with Nunu. Maybe missing your slowing Ghoul, or again, coming at a bad angle with Yorick. And again, with Cho'Gath, missing your knock-up and not following up with a good silence to stop the flash. Once again, these are, like, you have ways of getting into a gank that don't require you to blow a summoner, especially like a summoner that's supposed to be used in a much different way, because exhaust is not meant to slow people. That's just a little bit of a bonus. Exhaust is to shut somebody down. It's to stop the Zed from blowing up your ADC when he uses his ultimate, or the Diana as soon as she gets on Xin, whatever. Like that's the use for exhaust, not to help you catch somebody when you're coming in for a gank. Which leads me to my next point: is you said, is it better to use exhaust to gank than flash? You shouldn't be using flash to gank either. Flash should be used for like very specific situations where like you're gonna pick up 2 kills or you need to get out of dying in a situation. Like once again, it's the idea of using these summoners.
At least for the champions he's naming, like if you're doing like let's say you're ganking top lane, if you get a good flank on top lane, like let's say the enemy top laner is near your top laner's turret, and you get behind them as Nunu or Yorick, and you just start perm slowing them, like you don't need to blow any summoners to do a successful gank. But having flash is really useful on some of these champions. I mean, first of all, you can't get through terrain with Nunu, Yorick, or Cho'Gath unless you have flash. And second of all, like a lot of these champions can make plays with flash that they can't otherwise make. Like everyone's had that game where like Nunu just comes in, consumes Smite's Baron, and you're just like, fuck.
Because he had flash.
Yeah, because he had flash. Or Cho'Gath, that moment where he's like, he ruptures you and like you're silenced and you're like, oh, I think I'll survive, but that really hurt. And then he flash ults you and you're like, oh, I guess not. Like, you can't do any of that without flash.
Yeah, and once again, like we've already talked about how flash is just such a staple in so many situations. And like because you're definitely running smite, that means you're giving up flash for exhaust I mean, taking exhaust, again, super niche. You need to have a very specific directive when you're choosing to take that over flash. So, and then chilling smite, like chilling smite's great. I mean, especially on someone like Yorick. Yeah.
I mean, I just think that like if your champion already has like a slow in their kit, and like if you are able to just get a good angle on them, you shouldn't be needing exhaust to do the job for
Absolutely.
you.
Completely true. Yep.
All right, so I think let's move on to our next question here. This is from Mad Milliner. I'm sorry, I don't quite know. Your question.
Yeah.
It says, what do you think is the best way to build a new habit, such as buying wards or looking at the mini-map more often?
I have the perfect one for buying wards, personally.
Oh, yeah, I know this one, but
this is a great one.
it.
I mean, so my friend, he uses an ADC main, and my other friend who support mains, they duo a lot. They were getting really frustrated because my buddy would never ward. And I told him, I was like, look, the easiest way to do it is just, put wards in every single item set that you make. So make an item set for a champion that you play most predominantly, and you could even just put the recommended items just for shits and grins, but in each slot put a ward, so you remember every single time that you back, gotta buy a ward, gotta buy a ward, gotta buy a ward, gotta buy a ward. Pink wards, just boom boom boom, warded
Basically
every single slot.
Can't open the shop without getting a reminder.
No, I mean, it's literally right there in front of you, and at that point, if you're not buying it, it's because you're being a stubborn what, not because you don't have the right tools in front of you. You're just being stubborn and not buying the ward. Like, it's there, the reminder's there, so you just need to just do it.
Now, obviously, now with the new changes, you can't buy green wards, but
Pink
I mean,
wards.
this still applies with pink wards. Pink wards are super important. If you don't have one on the map, you really should get them.
Especially because they're cheaper now. They're 75 gold rather
know,
than
right?
100. It's such a blessing, especially considering you stop buying pots later on in the game. Like post 6, you're not. Hell, post 5 now because it's so freaking expensive. It's like I'm kind of annoyed at the whole pot change, but I'm really happy about the pink ward change because, I mean, 25 gold cheaper is just, very nice.
I'm actually really annoyed at the trinket changes, but I don't want to get into that because that could derail this. But taking it back to the question, you say, what's a good way to build a new habit? And I think the first thing is really just focusing on it and making it a priority. And Asterishan's example was perfect because he was like, okay, you're putting it right in front of your face on a regular basis, so that way okay, I need to do this. And now how you develop this habit could differ on the way you learn and how you retain things. I know some people will put like post-it notes on their monitor. Some people will just make a mental note in their head before they go into a game. I know Pseudonaut even recommended
Mila
in his
Kunis,
book
right?
putting Mila Kunis next to your mini map just so that way you remember to
I had
look
Taylor
at it.
Swift for a bit.
That's like that goes back to like what I initially thought when I read this question of like operant conditioning, right? Positive reinforcement. Now, I'm not saying like every time you buy a ward, you get a piece of candy and you eat it, but when you get that ward, or like when you get a kill, take a look. Oh, it's because I had that ward. Oh, I didn't die because I had that ward. And once you start drawing more connections like that, you're more likely to start buying these wards because inherently they're for your own benefit.
I know when I was trying to practice learning to use actives, I would go into the game, and before the game would be like, this game I'm gonna remember to use so and so. I'm gonna remember to use Blade of the Rain King. And then when I would finally buy the item, I was like, I'm gonna remember to use it. I'm gonna remember to use it. And I would just say that to myself whenever I would even buy or think about the thing. And then eventually over time I just got better at doing it.
Just yesterday, actually, he did.
It's hard. Habits are hard to break sometimes.
And they're just as hard to form sometimes too. But it's really just taking it game by game, making sure that you're following a certain protocol, whatever works for you, whether it is the picture of Mila Kunis, whether it's rehearsing before you go into a fight, whatever it is that you find that you are comfortable repeating over and over again until it's cemented in your brain.
That basically sums it up.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I think we've got one
One more.
last question here.
We got time.
This is from Matt. He says, I've tried a few different champs, Warwick, Rise, but next I think I really want to play Vlad. While I enjoy Darius, I never clicked with him well. Okay, this is just some background. But he says, Trin is one of my favorite champs to play. And now Xin. Those champions can be countered quite well with range champs. So clearly I have a penchant for this specific type of champ, the melee brawlers. My question is, will my taste for this kind of champ, which I believe he means the melee brawlers, hurt me as a league player?
I think it depends on your objective in the long run.
Right.
Like if you want to be the best, then yeah, it would, because you want to be the best at everything, and being the best is having that knowledge. Well, no, it's totally true. It's totally true.
Well,
you look at LCS players; they don't just play
taste-
support. They don't just play mid. They play everything. They play every freaking
But he's
thing in the
asking,
world.
will his taste in
But
those
that's
types
what I'm
of
saying.
champions?
No, it won't if you're not that serious. Is my whole point. Is if you're not that serious about the game. If you're not like, I want to be an LCS player.
Asterisk, scale it back
Yeah.
here. So
I'm just saying.
I think to get to his question, to understand the full context of what he says champs like Tryndamere and Xin Zhao can be countered quite well with ranged champions. And he's saying, will my taste for these types of champions hurt me as a league player? And I think the key thing to keep in mind is that, you know, it's okay to play brawlers and like specialize in playing brawlers and like basically just spam games as brawlers. Like there's people who have gotten to Challenger as Tryndamere, and they haven't been complaining like, oh, well, I guess I lose every game they pick a range
Tryndamere has
champion.
fuck all reason to complain right now.
Real. I'm looking at this question completely differently, personally.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so I mean, to Asterisk's point, you're not going to become the best, you know,
If you're
squishy
focusing on
mage
one,
champion if you only play Tryndamere.
Well, and the other point is, if you're only focusing on one champion, then you can't develop the same skills that you would on another champion. The reason, like, we are generally good at the game is because we play so many different roles.
I fucking suck at this game.
Well, okay, but you look at people that are good, immaculately good. I'm not saying that they're generally better than other players, but they have better game knowledge because they play more roles. And that is where it would hurt you, yeah. Now, as just a general thing, no, it's fine to just play one. It's fine to just play one role.
Like, I would say even just specializing in one particular type of champion, even like the melee brawlers, like you're going to learn a ton about the game, even about the roles that you're not playing just by like playing brawlers. Like you're going to learn a lot of things because you're going to see it from the lens of, okay, I'm playing melee brawlers and I know that this mage is going to do this to me when I use my gap closer. Like you're going to learn a lot about the game even if you play a narrow set of champions.
But like I think the one part I wanted to bring up is I think you're lumping these champions together and some of them really aren't the same. Like Warwick shouldn't be lumped together.
I don't think
with
he is.
Vladimir.
I think his first line is somewhat separate. I think he's saying
Trin and Xin. Trin and Xin are his kind of champions.
Zindamere.
Yeah.
But I think
you're right. They can be countered with range champs, but you can also find ways to play around that.
Exactly.
And that is my key point, is if you want to figure that out, it's easier to know that if you play the champion that's screwing you over so many times. If you know I'm struggling against Quinn, then you play Quinn and realize, okay, this is her weakness. This is what I need to exploit. This is her strength.
Exactly.
This is what I need to avoid. And that there is an inherent strength. Like,
but you don't have to like main Quinn to be good at Tryndamere.
Precisely.
You just want to really know. You want to have extensive champion knowledge relative to the champions you're playing.
And you can still learn how to play against that champion if you play him against him enough. But if you want to expedite that learning process, then play the champion that's screwing you.
Yeah, like I want to talk a little bit just about his point where like these melee sort of champions are getting screwed and getting kited out.
I don't think they are at all.
Well, I think you should really go back and take a look at these games because they get kited out when you're just trying to bull rush them and they know what's coming. You have to take more advantage of range.
Terrain is huge.
Yeah, focus on different things like split pushing, try flanking more. Vision is really big, but bull rushing, once the team has gotten used to it, doesn't work very well.
No, I mean, I think honestly, the line where you say champs can be countered quite well with ranged champions, it's not that. It's really that there's different strengths and weaknesses, and you need to learn to play around them.
Right. Precisely.
there's plenty of people who are really freaking good at Tryndamere, like challenger level players that basically spam Tryndamere, or like high diamond players that do it in Masters. But like they don't just lose every game to range champions. They know, okay, if when he gets this close, I can all in him, or I have to give up this amount of CS because it's too far out, it's too risky. But when he gets too far, I can do this. And once you learn those from really, like, let's say these are your favorite champions, which it sounds like they are, like over time you'll develop that mastery. You'll learn, okay, Tryndamere is strong at this point, this is my power spike, I can go in, and you'll learn to outplay these range champions even if they have a range advantage on you.
Yeah, don't look at it so much as a disadvantage, but a thing you have to overcome to learn and grow as a league player.
Yeah, and it's not a disadvantage. It really isn't. It's just taking the factors that are available to you and changing them to make them more in your favor. Like, that's not a disadvantage. It's the way it is.
Yeah, but so like if you're going to a game, you picked Tryndamere, and the person on top lane picked, I don't know, let's say Quinn, because we already used that example.
I think Quinn's a great example too.
Yeah, like you can't say, well, fuck, I got countered, guys. GG, FF at 20. No, you can play around that.
Totally. Use the brush to your advantage. Make her use that W once it's on cooldown. Utilize it again, and then fight on your terms. First off, never let her exploit something out of you, because that's the whole point of this, right? So.
Yeah,
and if you're playing Xin, you shouldn't be losing anyway.
Exactly. Prep that knockup. Don't expect that you're going to be able to get that knockup as soon as you go in, Pop that early, hit a couple times on a minion, then follow up with the knockup and then get out. Don't jump on them and wait for her to vault off of you, because that's why you're losing, is you're utilizing your spells in an ineffective manner because you're used to playing a specific champion.
There's a lot of
Change
techniques.
up the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of techniques to playing a melee versus a ranged, and I didn't want to go into all of them. I mean, there's, using the bush, it's knowing when to all in, it's knowing what CS to give up. Like, there's a lot of things that go into that.
Yeah.
But over time, if you keep practicing champs like Xin and Tryndamere, eventually you'll learn those things, and you won't start looking at these matchups as counters. It's just a different way to play the game. You're not going to play the same way you do against a Gnar as you do against a Zac.
It's what
the one thing, like, I notice a lot of people doing, like when they're in a range versus melee matchup, is that they just play way too scared, and that's how they lose the lane. Where like melee champions, especially like Xin and Tryndamere, who have their own gap closes early on, can really fuck up those range champions early on. But a lot of people just like play way too far back because they're scared of that, and then they get zoned and poked, and then they can't go in, and then they get behind, and then they get snowballed out.
Remember that there's disadvantages for being ranged as much as there's advantages for being melee, and back and forth. Like, utilizing and taking advantage of those factors is what will win you the game. It's that whole idea of, like, you're not countered, you just need to play differently.
It goes back to what we talked about when we talked about win conditions in lane. You recognize, okay, these are my win conditions. This is what he's going to try and do to me. This is how I'm going to try and beat him in the lane. And you play around that. And it's going to vary whether or not you're going up against a ranged or a melee. But once you identify your win condition and you learn to practice and execute on it, then you can, if you really master Tryndamere or Xin Zhao, like, you can beat anyone. Like, just keep practicing, and it sounds like you like playing them, so go for it, man.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks so much, everyone, for sending in your questions. This was honestly, we didn't get through all of the contest entries, sadly, and we still have quite a few piled up. But we really appreciated everyone sending them in, and congratulations again to Vidius Pawn, who was our winner for the contest. Really looking forward to what you guys learned in Season 6, or I guess the 2016 season.
Yeah. Season 6.
I'm going to call it Season 6.
I'm going to call it Season 6.
Yeah.
But for us, that wraps up tonight's episode of the, I guess, 3 Wards podcast. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.